Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to what I think is going to be an unbelievable display of talent from three of the world's greatest pipe makers. We did it this last year, and we had a great time, and this year we look forward to more of the same. In addition to being here in the hotel room, we have a vast crowd that's watching every step you guys make in the smoking tent. We also have Jeff, the chef, who's going to have this worldwide on YouTube. Now, I wanted to start out by saying, first of all, that many of you probably know who Michael Buffer is. If you know who he is, raise your hand. Yeah, there we go. Okay, he's a very famous announcer and does the introductions of very famous sporting events all over the world. Folks, I'm the guy that taught him how to do it. And yeah, that's right. And so we're going to have a big-time introduction that normally is not seen in a small room like this. But I think that you all will be shocked and amazed, and you'll understand why Michael Buffer learned from me. All right. Are we ready to go? No, you're not ready to talk yet. It's my turn. You folks in here ready? Okay. Boss man, are you ready? Okay. We're set to go. Ladies and gentlemen, from Chicago, Illinois, Hyatt Regency Hotel. Ladies and gentlemen, sponsored by Sutliff Tobacco, let's get ready to rumble! And you know, Mike Buffer never paid me a penny for that. Marty, sit down. Okay. It is now Jeff Grachik's time, also an outstanding pipe maker, who has these three gentlemen, and he's going to introduce them to you right now.
Folks, we are so excited to be doing this second ever Battle of the Briar. We are so excited that you are all here to see this and that these three fine pipe makers are here to compete against one another. It is a battle to the dust, I guess. And from Nashville, Tennessee, we have Pete Prevost, Briar Works Pipes, and Pete Prevost Pipes. From Durham, North Carolina, we have David Huber. David, by the way, has an unfair advantage in that he helped with the pipe making seminar for the last 2 days, and David worked on all of these machines for 2 days. He knows what he's doing.
He's also
right. That's why the motors kept dying on 2 of the tables.
He actually started his carving through our pipe seminar.
And you're going to get to see what the pipe making seminar can help create. David started his pipe making journey there, and here he is on the big stage now. Yeah. And
I'll take Dirk. Because, you know, last year I had Tommy Ascorti. I can speak Italian, so I was great at that. Okay, I said, Marty, sit down. I forgot to say, be quiet, too. Ich kann sprechen Sie Deutsch. Danke. Mein Deutsch ist nicht sehr gut, aber ich kann verstehen Sie, wenn Sie sprechen Sie English, nicht Deutsch, mit mir. Thank you very much. All right. Dirk, tell us about yourself, coming all the way from Germany to participate in this event.
In English? Well, Jeff asked me if I could attend the thing, and I thought maybe working on machines, I don't know, under time pressure, sounds like a good idea, so yeah, I'm here.
Well, we are extremely pleased to have you, and especially coming all the way from Germany. How about a hand for these carvers? Well, you know they're going to make pipes, so you might as well tell them, and the audience too, how it's going to be done.
Sure. So first, I want to take a moment to thank a couple other people who helped out with this event. First of all, we are surrounded by people from the Chicago Pipe Club who helped rearrange these tables, without whom this show and this event would not have happened. And so I'm grateful for every last one of them. So give them a round of applause, please. And I also want to thank the supplier of our Briar, Makis Minitos from a cut above Briar in Greece. Makis sent us 5 of his finest blocks as a donation to help this event take place. And there was one more.
asking me, I'm 71 and you're
asking you.
30?
We'll think
Give
of it.
me a
We'll think of it.
break.
We've got an hour, folks. We've got an hour. So let me tell you how this competition is going to go. In a few moments, each of these pipe makers is going to reach into some kind of container and draw a number, 1 through 3. After which, we will reveal the 5 blocks of Briar that they can choose from. And they will choose in order 1 through 3 which block they would like to work with. After that time, they will reverse their order and go 3, 2, 1, choosing their workstations. And the reason this is important, first of all, is proximity to a better machine over here that the first one to get there is able to use it. The other thing is one of our motors is slightly more powerful than the other, and that person has a fair advantage. We're giving you an advantage, number 3. So after they've done that, they will go to their workstations, and we will be in a neutral time period. They will have the opportunity to sketch their shape and then go and use the bandsaw to cut out their shape. When they are done, they will place their blocks, their cut-out blocks, on their workbenches and take a seat. When all 3 of them is ready, we will start the timer and they will go. They will have 60 minutes, not a second more, to do every step of making a pipe. So you guys are about to see just how talented these guys are. We hope. Yeah. At the end of the time period, they will deliver their finished pipes to this front table, and the judges will then take the pipes, and they have a grading system that they will use to grade, and we will announce this year's winner. Any questions? And the judges are, thank you, from San Diego, California, Dr. Fred Berger. From here in Chicago, yes? Harvard? Harvard. He's a Harvard man. This is Mr. Ted Billmeyer. And all the way from San Francisco, California, Mr. Marty Pulvers. Thank you, gentlemen. And I think that is all we need to say.
That's it. Well, like I said, let's get going here.
All right.
See these guys grab their blocks of wood that they're going to choose. One of last year's competitors, Jared Coles, is going to let them select from his very clean hat. It's Pigpen. That's what we call Jared now. For those of you who weren't here, last year, one of the machines that sucks up the briar dust right in front of Jared quit working, and Jared collected so much briar dust we thought a Christmas tree was being decorated, and he was covered, and they decided to call him Pigpen after that. You guys ready? Who's number 1? Get after it, dirt.
Pipe makers, let's come see the Briar. Got to reveal. All right.
Ta-da! And they're pre-drilled, right, Jeff?
I hope so.
Question was, are they pre-drilled? And yes, they are. All 5 Briar pre-drilled. As they come up here, Jeff, and start examining the Briar, explain to our audience, please, what are they looking for?
That's a good question. So each of these Briar kits, and we call them kits because, as we said, they've been pre-drilled and assembled with a preformed mouthpiece. Each has its own unique grain orientation, and they are all drilled differently so that the pipe makers have enough options available to them to create something that's whatever emerges from their minds that they see in the Briar. And so Dirk might be examining this pipe and thinking one of his own shapes he sees in this block and not another one, and he'll select this one. And so on and so forth for each of the other pipe makers. Now, I will say, the bandsaw, they're going to go remove Briar from when they're with the bandsaw before the competition officially starts. And it's possible one of these pipe makers might encounter a flaw. And anybody in this room who's attended our seminar or who is a pipe maker, you know what that's like. It's a little heartbreaking. And with a 1-hour time limit, that could be a problem. So we will allow our pipe makers, if they encounter a catastrophic flaw with the bandsaw, to come and select another block, of course, from the 2 remaining blocks.
Okay, now another question. Are they looking for grain at all here right now, or are they just looking for something that they figure will make a good shape for them? Let me ask that question one more time. As they look at the Briar, are they just looking for something that they feel like can match a shape they can take care of, or are they also looking for grain?
They're looking for both. Both are part of the scoring that the judges are going to be looking at. So they want to see if they have if there's a shape that they can see in the block that is that follows the grain. Of course, each of these pipe makers they work in the freehand tradition, and so they are allowing the grain that's in the block that nature creates to determine what shape they find there. Now, of course, they can do a classic shape if they choose, but a freehand shape might reveal itself to them.
Okay, is it harder or easier to make a freehand shape?
Well, I mean that's a really good question. Now, classic shapes, you would typically want a lathe to help turn that shape. So in this case, it might be easier to make a freehand shape, but that may not. These pipe makers might work differently than I'm thinking that they are. So who knows?
And once they get started, folks, I'll be asking Jeff, and he'll explain to you exactly what all of these different machines are and what the tools are, the differences in all of them, because there is quite a variance. And I think you mentioned last year, too, that one of the, not obstructions, but one of the challenges for the pipe makers is that instead of using their own tools that they're comfortable with, they're using a whole new set of tools.
Yes. So every pipe maker has a slightly different setup in his workshop. And I have walked these pipe makers through what we have available for them. And there's it's a leveling effect, because they will all be equally handicapped by the tooling that we have for them. So that's an additional challenge. Yes, it's a big challenge for them. For instance, the wheels may not be the sanding motors may not be strong enough for what they're typically using in their own workshops. So it can take longer than they might expect to shape a pipe.
Now, what exactly is going on here? I see 2 of them using their shaping pencils, and now Dirk is too. So.
Yeah, so the pipe makers they're sketching a shape on the side of the block that will allow them to go to the bandsaw and cut the silhouette, more or less, of the shape out. Now, some of these pipe makers might, in their own workshops, not use a bandsaw. They might go straight to a sanding disc. However, I was talking about the power of the motors. Because that's a limitation, it might take them longer with this motor than it would in their own workshop. And working under a time limit, that can be a challenge.
Speaking of the time limit, once it starts, what is how do we determine who goes where first?
So each of these pipe makers, what we're seeing in their line here, that is their full workstation.
Okay.
So David, for instance, has his 2 shaping and polishing motors behind him and his workbench right in front of him. And so they all have identical stations available to them. The only advantage that I mentioned earlier is there's a buffing setup over here that is superior to what they have.
Gotcha. So they'll be going to that in later stages, right?
Yes,
like we saw.
that's the final stage.
Okay. So when does it actually, the timer, when does it actually start?
The timer will start when all of the pipe makers have used the bandsaw, or perhaps they don't want to use the bandsaw, and they set the block that they're working on right now in front of them.
Okay. Another couple of questions I had just from looking observation here. What's all this stuff here? What is this?
This is a staining station. So we will see. Our competitors last year were, of course, running to the last second and did not have an opportunity. Time did not allow them to use stains on their pipes. Now, these pipe makers might have more time available or plan this into their process for the evening. And so we have 4 different leather dyes available to them, as well as some shellac, which is a typical finish that's used by some pipe makers. And they have the option available to them for color. I would be very impressed if even one of these pipe makers is able to splash a little color on.
Yeah, because nobody got there last year, right?
No one got there last year.
No one got there last year. Okay, and well, while they're continuing to do that, back behind David's station, go ahead and explain to us, if you would, a little bit about what these, and they all have the identical setup. What is all that?
Yeah, so we have two motors here that have sanding discs for them. So they will be shaping their initial shaping with, we call it grinding wheel. It's 36 grit for those of you who know what we're talking about. It's very aggressive. You can grind metal with this. And because the wood that we're using is so dense, this is the best thing that we have available to remove material quickly. We also have some finer sandpaper available on French wheels for them. And the second motor can also be set up to, they can set up 2 wheels for sanding, or they can, at a later stage, buff over here. They have 2 buffing wheels.
We see that Dirk's getting underway first. Explain a little bit about what he's doing.
So Dirk is cutting out the shape. Oh, that's a nice looking shape. You guys will all see soon. Dirk is now cutting out the shank of his pipe. Very slowly, because this bandsaw. Pete, tell me about this bandsaw. How do you feel about this bandsaw compared to the one you use in your workshop?
Well, I actually have this bandsaw as a backup. It's my old bandsaw. Mine's blue, but I mean it works okay. You can hear how strong the motor is on it.
Would you say
it's not bogging down at all?
Would you say your blue bandsaw is any different than the green bandsaw? Does the color affect it?
I think it does. Mine doesn't seem to bog down quite this much.
There's a possibility, very good possibility, that this bandsaw was used to cut buffing compound before the event, which would explain the sound that we are hearing right now. Buffing compound is abrasive. We have sanded the teeth off of this blade as another way to slow this competition down for the competitors and the audience.
Well, let's just make sure everybody knows I had nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing.
The secret here is to make a good pipe. You want that good charred wood finish when you get started.
You may not need the stains after all.
When you, on a serious note, Jeff, when you pipe makers begin the process of making the pipe, of course, they didn't have much time to do it, but under normal circumstances, how long do you examine the blocks and the wood and determine exactly, or do you determine right from the get-go what you want to make?
Depends how close your next show is. The closer the show is, the faster you need to move. But typically, we will spend, if I have an order, for instance, I will take a lot of time to find a block because the order might require some very special grain orientation or size of block. And that can take a while to find. If you have 500-600 blocks, you might look at 400 of them before you find one that is agreeable with the shape you have in mind.
And this time you only had 5 to choose from if you were number 1. It's amazing to me how they go so quickly on that bandsaw. Just going to take a break for a moment. Want to let everybody know, too, that during the course of this competition, so get ready, if you so desire, there will be a point where you will be able to get out of your seats and actually go up and take a much closer look at what these 3 fine gentlemen are doing as they make the pipes. As you can tell by the equipment, don't get too close. We don't want you guys to lose any fingers. But you'll have a chance to do that. And also, we'll be going through the audience from time to time, give you an opportunity to ask questions. You may see something going on up here. In fact, I know you will. You'll see something I didn't spot. And if you have a question, just raise your hand and we'll come to you and let you ask your question, or if you have just a comment. But that'll also take place here tonight. And we always appreciate the audience helping us out, because you guys, last year, you had some great questions you asked. And again, we'll also be coming by just to see what you think about the overall competition here tonight.
Pete, it sure sounds good over here, and it smells like a pipe being broken in. We're almost there. We're almost there. I think we could possibly cut this faster with a piece of rope.
Not knowing much about bandsaws, I'm sure some of the other people the same way. I wouldn't know if they're going fast or slow. But as long as they get the job done, that works for me. But you know, now I do see sparks. So what does that mean, Jeff?
Trying to get a little curve in the...
Yeah. That's the magic. You're seeing pipe making magic in action.
I'm telling you, there are real sparks there.
Okay.
Are we in any danger here?
David has decided he is going to not use the bandsaw. The bandsaw has been less of an advantage than we thought it was this evening.
Okay, well then that means we're getting real close to getting started. Tell Dirk he needs to wait just a second. Ein Moment, ein something bitte.
Okay, our pipe makers are ready. And we're about to get our timer set. And Tim Garrity will be ringing the bell.
Wait a second, before you announce him, I know his whole title. It's a long one, but I got it. Tim Garrity is the president of the Chicagoland Pipe Collectors Club. Ladies and gentlemen, raise your hands for a big man. All right, Tim, your turn.
Excited to ring the bell like I do in class every day. So, class is about to be in session.
Competitors, are we ready? Okay.
Ready?
And the Battle of the Briar has begun.
Go, Pete! Woo!
Now remember that when Tim rang the bell, they have exactly 1 hour. So it's now 4 minutes until 8 o'clock. At 4 minutes until 9 o'clock, the bell will ring again, and they'll have to stop wherever they are.
Now I want to point out that Pete Prevost, pipe maker number 3, has chosen the better table with the better, faster motor, but he was pulling a pig pen because we forgot to hook up the dust collection to that side. It's being corrected. It's being corrected. Maybe it was an advantage to have that motor after all. And I want to give a big thanks to Mr. Jared Coles, who is not only helped set all this stuff up, but he is, having been a competitor himself, he knows what it's like. And so he is the one who's going to be assisting all of these pipe makers with potential problems that they might encounter with their machinery. Thank you so much, Jared.
Hey, Jeff, I know it's pretty loud in here, but can you tell the audience exactly what these gentlemen are doing right now in this early stage of the game?
I can. So each of the pipe makers is using the very rough grit wheel to grind away the extra briar on the outside. Now, because some of the pipe makers didn't get to use the bandsaw the way that they wanted to, they're using the grinding wheel to cut the profile of their shapes. Now, David, it looks like, is making very short work of this block of briar. Even with the weaker disc that a weaker motor that he has, half of that block that he started with is gone already.
Well, you know, that's another. Is there any one particular portion of this competition that we need to look for as far as what an individual may be doing that's getting them ahead of the others?
Well, it's a little early to make that kind of
yeah.
determination, but I want to point out the positions the pipe makers are taking. So every pipe maker has their own workshop set up where their motor is at a particular level. And this is not their workshop, and all of the motors are at the same level. And you'll notice that David has chosen to take a knee on his chair to give himself stability, really working fast. Now that's a technique we were using in the class the other day.
Yeah, okay.
Pete is sitting down, and you can see his hands wavering back and forth.
Yeah.
And Dirk is standing up and bracing himself on his leg. Dirk's pipe already looks like it's taking shape.
Oh, okay.
Now, what a lot of people don't quite understand about making pipes is that the fun part of making pipes, the shaping of the pipe, is the fastest part. It takes, when you're not in a competition, 15 to 30 minutes usually. And then the rest of your day or 2 days or 3 days is all of the other work. The not so fun part, the hand sanding, the filing, the throwing the briar away when you encounter a flaw. Oh, wow, folks. Dirk's pipe, I'm excited to see what he's doing with. It's looking good.
Hey, Jeff, I was going to ask you a question here. Does it, when you're watching the competition here, you're using blocks of briar, but they all had stems in them. I've noticed a couple of guys removed the stems immediately. One other person left it on. Does that make it more interesting as to how they're going to work it, or do you sometimes insert stems into blocks of briar just to see if the shape will work for you?
So the reason these pipe makers have taken the mouthpieces out of the briar is because they need the room that the mouthpiece takes up extra space as they're working with their disc. Now, for the attendees who have taken or this year took the pipe making seminar, rule number 1 is do not ever remove the stem from your pipe while you're working on it. But that's because they're beginners. These are professional pipe makers. These fellas mostly are shaping their pipes before they've even made a mouthpiece already. Mm-hmm. And so they're simulating that now. Well, Steve, I'm excited to see what's happening here. David's working on a freehand shape that's looking pretty impressive to this point. And Pete's pipe is already coming into form. And if I'm not mistaken, David Huber has taken a big swing here. I think he's making a fugu blowfish, a cross-cut blowfish.
Well, I know he got in a lot of practice before he came, but I'm sure the others did too. But, well, how big of an advantage is that, or is it?
The practice?
To get the shape so far ahead.
Well, they want to make the shape, they want to define the shape as quickly as they can, because then they can get to the finer grits and then the hand sanding. I would say we are now 7 minutes into the competition. They want to be moving on to their fine sandpaper in the next 3 to 5 minutes. It could be a little longer since we didn't have the bandsaw.
Well, I know last year we saw all 3 competitors work at different paces. Some would go more quickly at one station than the next. And so I would assume, seeing what they've just done so far, that this would be the most difficult part of the process. As an amateur, that's what I would think.
It is. It's when you make or break the pipe. This is the most difficult part, but they're all the most difficult part. Now, I want to point something out to the crowd. David's now he is working very fine details. But just a moment ago, seeing the strength that he was putting into this shaping, watching the muscles in his forearm, you can get a sense of how much effort and strength it takes to make a pipe, particularly this quickly. And pipe makers, like these pipe makers, when they're in their home shop, how quickly they're making their strokes, this does not happen like this at home.
I can gather that. Of course, he's having made a bunch of pipes over the years. You know what it's like if you're working
David
away.
has taken the first to get rid of the 36 grit. He is now going to his fine sandpaper. Did you see the speed he did that in?
Did pretty fast. Now explain the changing of the grit and what's the purpose of going to the finer
Well,
sandpaper
now he has gone from 36 grit to 120 grit. That is going to let him further refine his shape, but it's also taking those deep sanding scratches created by the really aggressive grit that he was using before away. You're going to start not only seeing more of the shape emerge, but it's going to start looking more like a finished pipe here very shortly. Now, earlier I was talking about classic pipes, that making a classic pipe out of these kits is very challenging because most pipe makers make classic pipes on a lathe where you can, because it requires a lot of precision. But I'm watching Pete Prevost right now shape a classic pipe, which looks to me like a Lavat out of a pipe kit. That's impressive, folks.
Well, what we're seeing right now, you know, we're under 10 minutes and we're seeing mostly what looks like pipes to me. I want to talk to the three judges here for just a moment while they continue their work. And what are your early thoughts, Judge?
Oh, they all definitely have their work cut out for them, that's for sure.
Well, as one who makes pipes yourself, what do you think about the pace in which they're going?
A lot quicker than what I do, much faster. So.
And Marty Pulvers, I guess the Cubs didn't play tonight, so you came and joined us, and we sure are glad you did. You're a long-time seller of pipes, purveyor of pipes, lover of pipes, and this is your second year as judge, too. What do you think about the competition so far?
Well, what do I think of the competition? I think they're crazy to submit themselves to this kind of insanity because they were doing well before they got here. So I don't know what the benefit could be for them, but I can certainly see if you don't finish first or second, it looks less good for you.
Well, can you imagine, though, having on your resume, Marty, if you win this competition, you can say one of the judges that voted me the winner was Marty Pulvers. Now, that right there is worth any amount of money.
I have something to say about that because Jeff asked me to come back and judge, and I told him no, and you have plenty of other people who can judge much better than I can. And that's what he said. We know that. And that's why you're coming back, and you're going to come back until you get it right.
Dr. Berger, how about you?
Well, I'm impressed so far with how far they've come along in their shapes. So I'm impressed with this competition.
Well, I can't wait until they get up here and start doing all the other things that they do and get the thoughts of all three of you, people like Rick Newcomb, who's here. We got another outstanding pipe breaker. I think everybody knows Alex Forov, and he's here tonight. We're going to get a few words from him as well. See some other pipe makers in the crowd, a couple of other doctors of pipes and masters of pipes. So we got a little time to go, and we'll sure use it as wisely as we can.
I want to point out that Dirk Heineman has now moved to the 120 grit And he is taking the deep sanding scratches out as well. And Dirk, I just can't believe all three of these pipe makers are doing something so different from one another. David's down there making a crosscut fugu blowfish. Pete's making a classic pipe. And Dirk Heinemann's making what looks like a squat tomato with a teardrop shank in an hour. These are all big swings, folks. These are difficult pipes to execute in a day, much less an hour.
Well, you know, it is what's so amazing to me is they make it look easy what they're doing. Although, as you said, David Huber over there, his muscles are all bulging, trying to use the force he needs. But from over here on our side, it looks like they're just having a good time. And I know they are, but as they work.
This may be the kind of good time that they won't realize it's a good time until they're done. I'm watching Dirk cut with the 120 over here, and the precision with which he's moving. Very, very, very smooth strokes. Very careful, yet still moving at speed.
Jeff, approximately how many pipes a year do these gentlemen make?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I would imagine right around 100 pipes. Probably no more than 120, 130. I think Pete makes fewer pipes under his own name, but that's because he is the mastermind behind the Briar Works workshop.
Yeah.
So that is a big advantage that we haven't mentioned that Pete has coming into this competition. Pete is used to making pipes relatively quickly, but not the Pete Prevost graded pipes, the Briar Works pipes.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so working in a factory setting, he has these skills developed.
And now he's in here with only two other people.
Would you look?
Both very talented.
Would you look at Pete's pipe?
I can't believe it.
Pete may be our first pipe to finish in under 40 minutes.
Oh, I don't know. I'm looking at David. David Huber's going good. Dirk going well. Of course, I've never met a pipe in my life, so I don't know, but it looks to me like they're all pretty even.
Dirk's pipe with the teardrop shank, he's left some of the plateau on the end of the shank. It's looking really nice. Really nice. David's just looking so calm over here. He knows what he's doing.
And again, folks, we're going to allow you to ask questions a little bit later on once the music stops over here and they start working on other things. But if you have any questions you want to ask that you just love to hear one or maybe all of them answered, please feel free to think about it. We'll see what we can do.
I got to say, I mean, we have 43 minutes left, but these judges are going to have a hard time this year.
Well, they've come up with, some really difficult, to me, sounding shapes.
Yeah. I wouldn't have chosen a shape this hard for this competition.
What we're going to do now is stop by each station and have Jeff give us an update. There he is. He's going to ask, I'm sorry, say it again? Okay. And Jeff, as we start, we're going to start with David S. Huber, and that looks like a finished pipe that just hadn't been stained. It's incredible.
What are we seeing here, Steve? We've got a fugu blowfish, but it's not a crosscut after all. He's taken like the unusual choice of making a straight grain sided fugu blowfish.
Now, for a pipe maker, they come to that decision as they go along, right?
That's true. Now, he may have had I don't know what was the process of each pipe makers competing tonight. They may have been home practicing. They may have had ideas in mind, but one of the challenges that presents themselves, that is presented to them, is that each of the blocks is different. They're not all the same, and the drilling orientation is the same. You could not make 5 of the same pipe from the blocks that we gave to them. So they may have had an idea in mind, but none of the blocks were possible to use that idea with.
Gotcha. All right, let's go take a look and see what Pete's got going over there. It looks like he's making a very difficult shape over there, too. Looks like he's making a little what?
Looks like a lovat to me.
Whew.
It's gonna have a little. And he's comfortable enough even talking to us. That's how focused.
That's Pete for you.
He doesn't even need that kind of focus.
Now look
at conversation.
Yeah, go tell us about Dirk now, because he's got another fancy shape going too. He's got looks to me like a squat tomato or something like that.
Looks like a squat tomato with a teardrop shank, and he's got some beautiful plateau on the end of the shank. That's difficult to execute.
That's impressive. So we've got 3 really impressive pipe makers, at least on the front end, looking really, really close together in how far along they are, and certainly close together in the shapes they've chosen, being incredibly difficult to do under these circumstances, but it looks like all 3 of them have nailed it.
One of the things we're trying to do with this event is to show to the public just how talented pipe makers are. Pipe makers from all around the world. And right now, what we're getting to witness is this talent in action. If they can do this in an hour, folks, imagine if they're only making 100 pipes in a year, where that extra time is going in the pipe. It's unbelievable. Stop by each of their tables tomorrow at the show to see what they can do in their own workshops.
Another question for you, Jeff. Once they get this portion completed, what is usually, not always, but usually the next step?
Right. So each of these pipe makers is sanding with the 120 disc now. Now 120 is certainly finer than the 36 they were using before, but if you polished it, you would see scratches everywhere. So they have an option available to them to use a finer grit of sandpaper on the discs, but they may choose not to use that. They may go straight to their workbench, where they have a variety of sandpapers available to them, and they can choose from those to continue sanding. They have a file. I would be surprised if these pipe makers use that file on the Briar. They probably will not do that.
And once they get to the portion going to their workbench, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the point where we're going to, in a stately manner, allow. No, okay, all right, just checking.
Yep. So when they are done with this, when they're done with the sanding portion that you're seeing right now, this room is going to get a whole lot quieter. When these dust collectors get turned off, they're going to step around to the workbench, and it's going to be, we'll see, 38 minutes, probably the next 30 minutes, the last 30 minutes is going to be quite silent as they're all hand sanding. Very focused, and instead of the dust being kicked up at their faces, they'll be covered, their entire fronts will be covered with dust.
I got you. Okay.
Look at that dust that Pete Prevost is kicking up right now. His beard is going to be full of dust afterwards.
The machine is working well, but that's what happens when you're a pipe maker.
Oh, Dirk's pipe is looking really good, folks.
Regarding the dust, some of the old timers may remember Jorgen Larsen, and then his pipes brought in by Peter Stokeby. Jorgen started out, he was a marvelous pipe maker. I have one of his early editions that smokes, as Fred Hanna would put it, like a magic pipe. But he contracted dust allergy, pipe dust allergy, and had to stop making pipes for about 20 years. And then he built his pipe making room in his house. David Field and I imported his pipes at that point after Peter Stokeby died. And as far as I could tell, you could operate in that room. There wasn't a speck of dust because he had all of the vacuums so set up that he wouldn't contract any of the dust allergy any longer. And he continued then making pipes for a number of years until he finally retired. But in that sense, it's almost a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, you know, that's I started to say a wonderful story. That was a good ending to that story. But you know, I've like other pipe makers over the years have had problems with allergies and briar dust. Absolutely, and as I say, it can be an impediment to some people. So the way you set up your room and the vacuum is so very, very important. And as I said, Stokeby's room was immaculate. I never saw no kitchen did I ever see that clean. And I'm not sure I've ever seen a hospital operating room that clean. It was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
David Huber is the first off the wheels, folks. And I'd like to point out, David Huber reshaped his mouthpiece. The pipe makers here in the audience know how challenging that is to do. I wouldn't do it, but here David's doing it. He's already got stain on the pipe. He's the first Battle of the Briar competitor to ever put stain on a pipe. This is getting exciting. And we have more than 30 minutes left.
Okay, question from the dummy. What's he doing putting stain on now? What's that? What advantage is that?
Oh, so he's going to do a contrast stain. David is now getting ready to start sanding back by hand the stain that he just put on the pipe, and I think we're going to get a high contrast finish on a Battle of the Briar pipe. 33 minutes remaining, and David's already furiously sanding by hand. He's not going to just be covered by dust.
So he's going to sand it twice.
Stain.
Yeah, plus sand off the bottom layer.
So the reason
layer.
the competitors last year were unable to stain their pipes is that it takes so much more time to do. You more or less have a pipe that's ready to polish, and then you put stain on. So to stain, and then you have to sand it off. You have to sand the whole pipe all over again, and then put more stain on, and then another finish and polish. And there's also time you have to wait for things to dry, although it didn't look like David took any time for that. He just went right to it.
He's putting pressure on the other two right now, I'll tell you that.
I don't see any sweat yet.
But no. Well, now that it's getting a little quieter in here, we're going to go around and talk to a few people just to see what their thoughts are. I'm going to ask you for you. Oh, I know this guy, Sykes Wilford, who's the chief cook and bottle washer with SmokingPipes.com. You were here last year, Sykes. What do you think about what you're seeing this year in comparison?
These guys are definitely moving faster. I was asking Jeff earlier what he thought was different. These guys are taking this machinery more quickly, and everything seems like you all did a great job organizing it. And they're moving fast.
Well, we'll keep watching and see what happens. How about you?
I'm just happy to be here.
Are you with her? Oh, you're smoking pipes too. Okay, who's with you? Oh, you're with smoking pipes. Okay, you guys have me confused. I know this guy too. I've seen him somewhere before. My gosh. You know a little bit about pipes. Not a lot, but a little bit. Don't we all, Shane? Shane Ireland also is smokingpipes.com, and he's their chief cook and bottle washer of pipes. What do you think about this?
This is crazy. I mean, the ambition from jump when they were drawing out their shapes on the block is extremely impressive. I'm curious to see how it's going to end up in the next 15, 20 minutes or so when we're getting to the sort of like, home stretch. Yeah. But what we're seeing right now is pretty crazy.
Well, if you say it's pretty crazy, it must be pretty crazy.
And folks, we are approaching our halfway point. We have 30 minutes remaining. And I want to take a moment, Steve, since we have Mr. Jared Coles here in the room, who competed last year. Jared, what are your impressions, having been a competitor? What are your thoughts?
This is a little crazy. I'm very impressed. This is going to be hopefully not embarrassing to me. That's my main concern tonight.
Understood. Now, in Jared's defense, we have made some improvements to the pipe making stations and to the equipment available to them this year. And we're going to make improvements every year. So it looks like the improvements to the equipment situation has made a difference. What would you?
I think so, yeah. Having 2 motors, having 4 French discs, this whole setup is fantastic. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the show. I'm really impressed with the whole setup, and I think the equipment is helping with the speed a little bit, but obviously they have come prepared.
How do you feel about the dust collection situation?
I feel pretty good about this dust collection system.
Yeah. Good, thank you.
All right. For those of you who were not here last year, it was a hoot. Jared did get a lot of briar dust in his face. There's no doubt about that. Wanted to come over here, Neil, to talk to you for a second. You're a doctor of just about everything now. What do you think after having observed this competition for half an hour?
It makes me want to be a better person. No, it's as a collector, I have no idea of skills. I've been in so many workshops, and I've seen it at different pace. They'll stop and talk to me and teach. Again, I'm not technical in it, but I am so impressed with all 3 different I'm just watching all 3 different shapes coming to life. We got a classic Lovat billiard kind of happening over here by hand, contrast stain. This is exciting. I'm actually just having a good time. This is entertaining. It's wonderful.
We're glad to have you here, and we appreciate very much everybody who is in the room.
Well, Steve, I want to point out our second pipe maker has stepped away from the motors. Dirk Heineman is now moving on to hand sanding with 27 minutes and 40 seconds remaining.
I don't know how it's going to shape out when it finishes, but he's got a real nice squat tomato, and he's still got the plateau on the end, doesn't he? Rick Newcomb, you've seen a prior competition, this Battle of Briar last year, comparing it to last year. What do you think about what you've seen tonight?
I think it's fantastic, crazy, like people said. What I remember last year was I'm one of those people who think, like with little kids' sports, I like the idea that every kid gets a trophy. And I remember when the judges picked number 1, 2, and 3, I kind of felt sorry for 2 and 3. And then it turned out on the pipe show, on the floor, the collectors voted, and number 2 became number 1. And then in the auction, when they sold the pipes, number 3 became number 1. I remember this vividly. Tommy Ascorti won with the judges. Jared Coles got the most votes with the People's Choice. And then when they sold the pipes, Scotty Pearsall's pipe raised the most money. So I like that. They all got a trophy. So I hope that happens tonight because these three are enormously talented.
Speaking of enormously talented, who's your friend to your right over here?
This is my friend from Moscow and Chicago, Alex Florov, who is one of the premier pipe makers in the world, and he led a fantastic seminar this afternoon.
How did that go, by the way?
That went just great, just really fantastic.
And Alex, thank you for being here and watching. I can't wait to get your observations after these three gentlemen, fellow pipe makers, have done so well after only 30 minutes.
Well, it looks very interesting, as everybody says, fantastic. It's so fast. It looks like they've been actually practicing for that. That's how fast they go. I never worked that fast. I'm a slow pup. And what surprised me a lot, actually, all of them look like they alternate the mouthpieces. Knowing that they under our limit, alternating the shape of the mouthpiece is very daring. So we'll see how that will turn out.
You heard him, Alex Florov. Very daring, he called it. We'll see exactly how that goes.
I don't know why I should feel so surprised, but I was watching Pete Prevost work over here, and I think he's made a perfectly round shank and perfectly straight shank without a lathe. I'm a little angry, more than a little jealous.
Jeff, I want you to elaborate a little bit more on that because I feel like if I hear you say something that I don't understand, maybe some of the other pipe makers won't either. What is a lathe?
That's a good question, Steve. A lathe is a tool that just about every pipe maker in the world keeps in the workshop. It is a device that you use to hold the briar, and it turns circles, more or less turns circles. So every classic pipe in the world, well, except until today, is made on a lathe because you can turn a perfect circle. But apparently, Pete is a lathe.
And a pig pen to boot. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to our last year's champion of the first annual Battle of the Briar. He's back with us again this year. And I have practiced on my Italian, but not well enough to go into Italian again. Tommy won last year, and Tommy, you've been watching the competition. Tell us what you think about what you've seen.
Staying this side is amazing. So congratulations, guys, because I know it's no easy, and you have fun, you enjoy, but competition is a competition. So keep pushing and think about what you are making, and good luck to everybody.
And Tommy Ascorti, of course, makes wonderful pipes for Caminetto. How's that business going?
Very good, very good. I'm happy about the business, and the show this year is amazing. The location is fantastic. So congratulations to all the Chicago Pipe Club, and the team and all the staff are fantastic. And I'm happy. I'm very happy. And yesterday and today we make a good business, and tomorrow and Sunday we see you at the show with the table like everybody.
All right, well, that's Tommy Ascorti, ladies and gentlemen, the first annual champion of the Battle of the Briar. Thank you, Tommy.
Yes, way better.
If you missed it, Alex Florov said to Tommy, I bet you're a little more excited being on this side instead of where those carvers are this year, and he totally agreed. There's a lot of pressure on these carvers as they do what they're doing, especially as well as they've been doing it here for the last 35 or 40 minutes.
Well, Steve, we are coming in, approaching the final third of this competition. We are approaching 20 minutes remaining. 20 minutes. 20 minutes to finish these pipes. I don't know. It looked like we were making fast progress, and it certainly has gotten quiet in here, but 20 minutes is not that much time.
Well, lots of pressure on these folks, no question about it. But tell you what, up here in the stands, I want to find out what these people are thinking up here. Let's start with this lady. I see you have a pipe in your hand, so that means you're a pipe smoker, right? So what do you think about watching this?
Very impressive, that's for sure.
Anything in particular jump out at you that you, as a person who smokes a pipe, went, wow, I never knew that?
No, just having fun watching experts do their thing.
We appreciate your time. And what about you, young man?
Yeah, it's amazing seeing some of the competitors at different stages. You would assume some would complete much sooner than others, but it's probably going to come down to the wire.
I think so too. And speaking of coming down to the wire, I think everybody knows this guy, Dr. Fred Hanna, who had a seminar today, in fact, on how to enjoy pipe smoking. I don't know. Do you think these guys are enjoying pipe making right now?
I think they're all fantastic. I wish I could do that.
What has surprised you, if anything, has the most as you watch them compete, Fred?
To be honest with you, I don't have enough expertise to even talk. Yeah, I should just shut up.
Well, I tell you, you are quite the gabber, Fred. Thanks for your help. Okay, you've been doing all this work, James, all for I don't know how many days, getting all this stuff put together. What do you think?
It's a piece of cake if you got like 8 weeks. These guys are amazing. They're doing it in an hour, so.
Pretty unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's utterly insane. I mean, again, if you got 8 weeks to build a pipe, do what they're doing. If you got an hour, this is nuts.
I want to point out that David Huber's polishing his mouthpiece right now. David is the first to the polishing wheel.
No way.
With 19 minutes remaining. He's going to be smoking this pipe.
I've got an idle thought.
Before the time is up.
I've got an idle thought. Last year was so difficult. It was the very first year. And it took how many hundreds of years for somebody to climb Everest the first time? But once that was done, once that barrier was broken, it's almost like casual mountain climbers can go up there now. I'm exaggerating. But maybe there's some similarity between breaking that barrier there and breaking the barrier as they did last year for Tommaso and Jared and Scotty.
That's an excellent point because I know that these pipe makers have had an opportunity, since that was on video and on YouTube and all that, to see what's going on. And as Jeff said, the equipment's better this year. So who knows what will happen next year? You may be sitting there smoking a pipe that was made in 20 minutes. We shall see.
Now, Steve, David has polished his mouthpiece with the first grit. It's a more aggressive compound, and now he is heating up his mouthpiece with a heat gun so he can bend it. Now, most of these pipe makers are used to using ebonite. Ebonite and bends differently than the material they're using today, which is acrylic. So it's going to be a challenge for them because when you overheat vulcanite, you can sand out the problems. When you overheat acrylic, it melts, it drips. And so David is now bending his mouthpiece. Don't break it.
So they're going to be a little more cautious as they shape it. Do they get to the point where they're easy to mold at about the same time, or is one quicker than the other?
Well, vulcanite slowly becomes warm enough to bend. Acrylic is hard until it's melted. So it's not hard, it's not soft enough to bend, and then it's all at once soft enough to bend.
Wow.
So it's have to be very, very careful, especially if you are not accustomed to working with it, like these pipe makers may not be.
Just another challenge for pipe makers. Another day at the office for all of them, right?
David is now applying shellac to his pipe. He's applying his finish.
Have you seen how perfect the shape is over here?
Oh, and Dirk furiously sanding over here, covered with the dust. This beautiful pipe he's making. Oh, my goodness. Dirk's pipe is looking incredible. This squat tomato, all of the facets are nearly gone. I think we're going to have 3 competitors make it over the finish line again this year, but the question is who's first?
You might have a few records set too.
Yeah.
Got another question, Jeff. Dirk's got the peg there in the doohickey.
That's the official.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was a doohickey. It looked like a doohickey to me.
Is that Texan?
What's it? Yeah, it's Texan, by the way. But what is that? What does he use that for?
So the pipe makers put that the dowel that's in there is sized to fit in the chamber of the pipe, so they can hold their pipe for them. It's a third hand, more or less,
Gotcha.
and so they can sand with both of their hands.
Gotcha.
And when if you've seen a couple of pipe makers put it on the peg, and they can seesaw the sandpaper back and forth, and that helps remove the scratches and facets that are left over from the previous sanding operation. So it helps make it round and smooth.
Now, when they sand pipes, that's of course a little different than what is going on with sand blasting. But is when you see a pipe, and like I pick up one of your pipes, by the way, just super glossy and smooth. How long does it take to, under normal circumstances, get done what these gentlemen are doing?
Well, certainly less time than this, or more time than this. Much more time than this. The final sanding process can take hours, all day. Depends on the complexity of the shape, of course. Yeah. And so I mentioned earlier that the fastest part is the rough sanding at the beginning, and the slowest part, which is usually probably 80-90% of the time that's invested in pipe making, is the fine sanding. But these pipe makers were off the wheels in 15, or off the grinding wheel in 15 to 20 minutes. Well, that's 70 or 25% of their time already. So they're already losing time.
Losing time. All right, now Jeff, I want you to help me here. I'll let you answer the questions.
Okay.
But I wanted to see if we have anybody in the audience that would like to ask a question, because I know there's a lot of stuff I didn't cover. But if you have a question, I'll just, I see somebody raise their hand. Were you going to raise your hand? No, just scratching. Okay. If anybody wants to ask a question, now's the time to do it, because I've got the microphone. So does Jeff.
And I do want to point out we are under 14 minutes remaining.
Right.
Pete is now polishing his pipe.
Oh, okay, good. Tim had a question. Let me get over to him.
Jeff,
Yes, sir.
why lucite over vulcanite?
Pardon?
Why go with lucite or an acrylic over vulcanite?
For the competition?
Yeah.
Because it's easier to work with. In many cases, depending on the level of the scratches, these pipe makers won't need to do very much sanding at all of the acrylic before they polish it. Vulcanite, on the other hand, it requires a lot more sanding. And so we wanted to make that portion of the pipe making easier for them.
Anybody else have a question right now? If you do, just raise your hand. We'll come get you.
And Pete's lavat that he's working on over here is not just a lavat, it's a straight grain lavat.
Yeah. Jeff, you got a question?
We've got a question over here.
So if one was making a virgin pipe without stain, is that a standard way that you finish a virgin, just with the wheel, or do you normally rub oil on it or something else?
That's a very good question. This is not how Pete would normally make a pipe with his stamp on it. He's probably sanded to 400 grit, and he's gone to the Tripoli wheel. The Tripoli is also an abrasive compound, so it's going to refine that 400 grit even further and remove those scratches. But a handmade pipe maker is typically sanding maybe up to 1,000 grit, so several more grits beyond that. So that means you have to re-sand the pipe completely for each step. This will be a natural finish, yes. And so if Pete were in his workshop, he would sand to a high grit, and then he would apply some kind of finish, let's say an oil, and it's usually multiple coats over multiple days, and then curing that takes longer than that, before then going to much finer polishing compound than this, and that's where the gloss comes from. And then they will go and sand with apply wax for the final shine afterwards. Now, I should note for the audience that none of the pipe makers will be applying wax for the judges. They'll apply wax after the judging has been finished. And the reason we're doing that is we only have one wheel available for waxing, and we did not want that to be a bottleneck in the competition. So we wanted to equalize that.
Jeff, I see that Dirk went back again.
Well, Dirk is polishing.
Yeah, how come?
He is, so because Pete is over on the fast buffer, Dirk is now using the buffing compound here at his station. It's going to work slightly less efficiently than the one over there, but that's the advantage of getting done a little faster in this competition. And the faster buffer is available for you now, Dirk, if you want to go use it.
So basically, these guys are also thinking on the fly as they go.
That's pipe making. What you're seeing, this pipe making here is 1 hour of what we experience, and a lot of it is problem solving. These pipe makers have to, as you said, make decisions on the fly. You discover things inside this block that you could not have anticipated, and you need to very quickly, in a competition setting especially, pivot and find some way to make it, to remove that flaw and make it, maybe you need to reshape the pipe, and that's where you think, where did the idea come from for what I'm seeing in front of me? And so, well, that was a flaw. I was removing a flaw, and I made a feature. Pipe makers, we have 10 minutes remaining. 10 minutes remaining. Pete has now finished bending his mouthpiece. David is applying more finish. I am really excited to see what these folks lay on that table up front. This is so, so impressive.
Same reason that Pete's gone back to the reel as it like Dirk did. Heinemann. Yeah. What's Pete doing? I saw that. That's just one of these days I'll get used to it. But
I will say, I think Steve and I have the easier job. And again, we're grateful for your contribution. And, you know, all right. Sorry, Marty. Close the doors, please. Marty Pulvers is not allowed to leave before we have his score sheets.
Wait a second, nobody can hear you, Marty. That's usually a good thing, but here, I've got the microphone.
How do you take any points off of these? How do you downgrade anybody for this kind of...
We'll examine them.
Fred says he's going to examine. That bothers me. That's like, so you better count those pipes after he's done that.
To inform our audience just a moment here, the judges are going to have a very hard time grading these, and there's a rubric available to them that they'll use to evaluate the pipes. The decision's going to be hard, but there is also an extra 3 points available to the person who finishes first, 2 to the second finisher, and 1 to the third finisher. So all other things being equal, it might come down to time.
Is collusion amongst us illegal? Collusion among the judges. We've got something going on here. He didn't ask for money, though, so that's good. Anyway, if we get back to Dr. Fred here for a minute. Your thoughts as we get really close to the end.
What was the question?
What are your thoughts on what you're seeing as we get really close to the end?
I'm excited as we're getting close to the end. I can't wait to examine the pipes personally up close and to do my best to judge them appropriately.
Yeah. Now, last year when you were judging, I guess you discovered what there's no easy way, but the easiest of difficult ways is to get the judging taken care of. This is so different from last year from the standpoint of you've got these 3 pipes that are amazing. And how do you judge that?
Carefully.
Well, good luck to you. Marty,
Steve, would you look at this with 6 minutes remaining? Our pipe makers are nearly done.
Marty just said, look, his pipe with that. Look at that. You know, he was just in shock at how far along he was.
You know, and with the speed with which these pipe makers are working, I expected to see a pipe or a mouthpiece fly across the room, and it hasn't happened yet. And I believe we should ask the show staff about this, but they chose this room for the carpeting, so it would bounce and not scratch. I hope. We do have that advantage, though.
But it hasn't happened.
Not yet. They're pros. They are pros.
I guess that's a hazard of your job. So, yeah. Let's go back to Dr. Fred Berger again, one of our judges.
Let him know it's 5 minutes.
Good idea. We're down to 5 minutes and 14 seconds. 5 minutes, 14 seconds, contestants. Still got 5 minutes to go. This is the really fun part because they're each still working. They each still have 5 minutes. They've done an incredible job so far. Don't know if anyone's going to turn in a pipe before the 5 minute mark is up, but at the end of 5 minutes, all three of them will turn in their pipes. Then the judges will move to their scoring table with the pipes, and then comes the period of time where it takes whatever the amount. We let them have all the time they need, for the most part, for our judges to make their decision as to who finished first, who finished second, and who finished third. And I personally would not ever take that job.
Now, Steve, with 4 minutes remaining and our pipe makers at the stage that we are seeing, we're not racing for finished. We're racing for time points right now. And I'll point out to the audience, I don't recall if I said it earlier, but the pipes will be waxed after they are judged by the judges, and they'll be available after the awards are given out for all of you in the audience to come up and see. The only thing is we're going to, before we do that, we're going to allow the pipe makers just a couple minutes to come over and put wax on the pipe so they'll be prettier for you. Oh no. Did David Huber finished his pipe in 3 minutes and 23 seconds, and his mouthpiece broke when he put it on the table. You can do it. Jamie, super glue. Jamie is running to his room to get super glue. David's going to make another mouthpiece in 2 minutes and 30 seconds while one of our assistants extracts the broken portion. Dirk Heineman has finished. Dirk Heineman is the first over the line, folks. 3 points to Dirk Heineman. Now, Dirk, how do you feel?
Tired?
Tired? Do you want a beer?
That sounds like a good idea.
Do we have a beer for this guy? Congratulations, my friend. Unbelievable. David has 2 minutes.
Beer for Dirk.
2 minutes, folks. 1 minute and 47 seconds. Pete Prevost is just polishing his pipe. Let's see if he is done. Pete Prevost is second across the line, folks.
We have 1 minute and 30 seconds. 1 minute and 25 seconds now.
Do we have?
1 minute.
Folks, we're going to need a countdown. We're at 50 seconds. I think with 10 remaining, if the room would start counting down. David, are we going to get there? You need it.
"25 seconds. 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, if that wasn't a nail biter. David, how do you feel?
I'm worn out watching that.
Tired. I think these fellas earn a round of applause. This is incredible, folks. Incredible.
I have one more thing to say. I'm 71 years old and need help up.
Incredible. All right, well, with the 3 pipes completed, judges, please come over to the judging table. And the pipes will be delivered.
Slowly. No suggestions from the peanut gallery.
My Apple phone just said, "Did you take a call?"
No, but there is a couple of envelopes. Sure. Okay. Always trust the man who wears his cheers.
The body's not what it used to be.
It is not.
You know, you pay for your.
Ladies and gentlemen, there they are, our 3 competitors, our last year's champion. Let's give them a big round of applause. It's now up to the judges. Tommy was so worn out watching, he's drinking too.
So the first one is easy, right? A 3-point.
Jeff Graychick, where are you? Did he run off? There he is.
Oh, Steve, I think we should come on over here and talk to our competitors this year and just ask them about their experiences. What were they thinking? What did they encounter that the audience really didn't get a chance to see? So why don't we ask? I was just talking with Pete about making his pipe. Pete, first of all, how do you feel?
I feel pretty good. I was trying to chase a big flaw out of the side of the bowl for a long time, and having to kind of rework the shape because of that. I got the flaw mostly gone, and I knew I wasn't gonna have time to do a stain, but just wanted to clean it up as much as I possibly could. I think one of my big encounters that I faced was on that buffing wheel over there. I got a little too aggressive on the saddle because it's a flush fit, and kind of like messed up the line of my stem. I had to come over here and re-sand down the stem, re-flush it up, and then kind of go back to it. But
it's a classic example of trying to work fast and making more work for yourself. Dirk, so you're tired, but you're relaxed now. So tell me about your experience. What were you thinking about? What were you hoping for as you were making the shape, and how did it turn out?
Well, I was hoping with a teardrop shank so I can more shape faster because I don't have to care so much about the symmetrical, the shank. That worked out. The bowl was a little bit more difficult because the pre-drilled chamber is what I'm used to. But I think in the end, it's a pipe, so that's good enough.
Hey, I've got to hear you. I've got to hear you ask David S. Huber, because I think I was unconscious when this happened over here, but I want to hear all about that.
Well, David, last year we had some drama because Scotty, everybody was counting down, and she put her pipe down at the last second. She was just working really hard. Put it down. She was done. You were the first, and then the last. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I felt really good about getting over the finish line, and I was a little bit over exuberant and put the pipe down a little too hard. If I had just stayed relaxed and set it on the table, I would have finished first. So I'm a little bit disappointed that I didn't have that presence at that moment, but I am happy that despite that, with the help of the crew running the show here, that was able to get another mouthpiece ready and fit and bent in the couple of minutes that we had remaining, and was still able to complete the piece.
So you didn't plan the drama?
Well, you know, I don't want to reveal any secrets.
Well, we appreciate you for it, but don't ever do that again. Yeah. Well done. All competitors, it was, yeah. My mind
Well, whatever he did to raise the drama needle, it worked.
It worked. So I'm going to ask last year's competitors together. So now, having seen this year's exciting conclusion, what are your thoughts?
You know, I'm pretty satisfied with getting across the finish line last year. At all, yeah.
What happened this night teach me one thing. When you feel 100% under control, you know something can happen. So also last year, I remember I finished few minutes before the time, and I was completely relaxed, maybe smiling and joking with you. But you have to be careful because everything can happen. So I'm happy that last year was last year, and this year we are.
Cheers to that.
You may want to go over what the judges are exactly looking for tonight as they judge this competition.
That is a very good thing to do. So the judges are evaluating four different categories here. They're looking for the quality of the fit and finish of the pipe. Now, none of the pipe makers here, especially because of the time constraints that we have, they're not going to be judged on the presence of flaws or the absence of flaws. They're doing their best. They're working within these time limits. And as Pete was saying, he was chasing after a flaw, and that takes a lot of time away. So there's no negative for that. What the judges will be looking for in that category is the absence of sanding scratches. Did they sand it sufficiently? Is it nice and shiny? How smooth is the shape? Are there facets remaining from sanding with the discs? If they run their hands around it, is it nice and smooth, or can they feel where it wasn't sanded? And then the next three sections of the judging is the balance of the shape. Does it have visual balance? Is it a well thought out shape? Are the components of the pipe, the mouthpiece, the shank, and the bowl, are they proportionate to one another? Is it harmonious? And how well does the shape flow? Is it a good shape? Does the preformed mouthpieces that they have, like none of these pipe makers works with preformed mouthpieces. They are hand making their mouthpieces and are composing the whole shape with a mouthpiece idea in mind. So they're working outside of their normal way of working here with these materials. And then finally, the judges will give their overall impression of the pipe. Did they like it? Did they think that the pipe was especially creative? And does it fill, or if it's not a freehand shape, if it's a classic, does it look like a traditional classic shape? So it looks like the judges are approaching the end of their judging period.
I'm glad to see you sitting down too.
My back hurts, and I wasn't competing.
My everything hurts. So there. But boy,
But you got to lay down.
Yeah, I did. I took a nap. It was really exciting, especially toward the end. You know, that's I think seriously, David Huber showed all of us what it's like never to quit. I would have said, that's it.
A lesser pipe maker would have just given up, but not David.
No,
not David. I mean, we were talking about earlier when we were looking at some of the work that the pipe makers were doing, that sometimes the Briar introduces problems, nature introduces problems with flaws into your work. And our goal as pipe makers is to eliminate the us problems from it, and so we can deal more with the nature problems, but sometimes the us problems remain. And I guarantee you, the best pipe makers learn from those mistakes. David Huber is never going to do that again.
Well, he can run pretty fast too, by the way.
So impressed. Like the focus, the intensity, 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. It took Jared and me 2.5 minutes to remove the broken part of the pipe from his pipe. And David made a whole mouthpiece in that amount of time.
He got it done.
Yeah, a real pro. A real pro.
Rick Newcomb wanted to speak.
I just wanted to say I watched as Jeff tried to pull the tenon out, and Jared was holding it, and he would pull, and then the tenon didn't move. He would pull, the tenon didn't move. And I was looking at the clock, each time, and they were down to like, I think 20 seconds when it finally came out. 4 seconds.
4 seconds.
So it was incredible, just sitting here.
I was worried that David was going to be standing there with the stem ready to go.
Say that again, one LP.
I just said I was worried for David that he was going to have the stem ready and be standing there while they're still trying to like pull the broken tenon out.
That would have been really sad. That would have been really sad. But it was a very entertaining portion of the program, and we appreciate it.
And for all of our
there. The only thing I'm concerned about now is he's going to be such a star for that. His pipes are going to go way up in price, and I can't buy another one. So that's just the way it'll go. But we're getting close, and again, as Rick said, or as Jeff said, once they get through going through the process of all of all of the different things they're weighing, then they'll have the final ballot set, and then Jeff will count it up for us, and we'll find out who's first, second, and third.
Once the judges are done here, Hassan and Jeff are going to count it up. And
Hassan and Jeff are going to do the ones counting. Yeah, I got him. Yeah. Oh, Hassan says, not me. But anyway, we're getting them counted here, and just maybe. Oh, are they getting close there, Jeff? Very close. All right. As they continue to count, I just have to ask the pipe makers. When you're standing there, gentlemen, I'm talking.
I'm sorry.
As they're counting up the ballots here, you guys are standing there. You have no idea who won. You all three of you, obviously proud of the creations within an hour's time. But I'm sitting here thinking, well, if they can do this in an hour, are they thinking that they can churn out pipes like this from now on at that speed? What do you think, David?
Definitely not. No, I think the quality that all three of us are probably able to create, I'll speak for myself, that I'm able to create in this short amount of time does not live up to the quality that I'm aiming for in my general production. This is a really fun exercise, but the sort of specificity and detail orientation that I bring to my work requires a lot more time. Yeah.
I'm sure the other two pipe makers and every other pipe maker in the room said, way to go, because as most of us know, that's there's no way this can be done normally. But what did you think, Dirk?
What David said perfectly. Like you can't really do that same in a workshop because you work totally different and you want to have better quality. So yeah, it's fun, but I wouldn't do it again.
But David won't either. How about you, young man?
I don't know what these guys are talking about. It's easy. No, I mean, for real, though, that's like, there's so many things about that I'm like, I got to move on to the next step. I would like to spend more time, and that's the thing is like when you're making a normal pipe, you're not on a time crunch. So I can sit there and I can study what I've done so far in the shape, and I can correct things, I can change things, little minor adjustments that like I just wasn't going to have the time to mess with today.
Well, plus all of you guys were working with brand new machinery that you'd never used before too, for the most part. So that was a lot of fun watching you folks. I got to tell you, and the people out in the smoking tent, I'm sure all of them the same way, just thrilled and excited to watch the competition. I know all the people here were. Really thank.
Well,
the
Steve,
judges.
I also have some questions for the pipe makers as a pipe maker myself. So what did you think of the machine setup compared to what you would do at home, and how did that change what you were doing?
That was like the biggest thing about that. That was the biggest challenge was, even just like having these straight on, not at an angle, having, things that are going to block your hands and your pipe from being able to really like shape the way you normally do. And just using wheels that aren't the same wheels that you use at home every day. There's little things like that I feel like are the huge challenge of this. And I think that if we were all doing this in our own home shops, like it would still be a rushed pipe, but you would maybe have a few things about it that you would feel more comfortable with in the end.
Dirk, how about you?
Yeah, the same. Especially the position of the disc is totally different than my workshop at home. So yeah, to hold the pipe, to get to certain parts of the pipe to shape it, like the transition from shank to bowl, stuff like that. That was really the most challenge. And I have also like different machines I use for the pipe making process I don't have here. This was also like a big challenge.
The angle of the motors is a huge thing, and David and I have been working with them teaching the pipe making seminar for the last few days, and that's, as someone who has worked with these machines myself for a number of years, that's also something I said, well, this isn't how I would do it, but we're going to use what we have, and that's part of the spectacle we wanted to set up for you all. Is this is what we have, and let's see what these folks can do with what is presented to them. Not only the blocks, but also the workshop. So David, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think having a little bit of experience with this setup this week did give me a little bit of an edge. I kind of knew what to expect in terms of what the motors to do and things, but it did require a lot of compensation in a way that it wouldn't at home. At home, I've got my motor set up in a way that really like works well for me. It's comfortable. It's not a problem to work with. Here, like you saw me standing with a knee on a chair, like leaning in, like I would never do that at home, right? Like it would be much easier, much more comfortable. I'd have a different motor, different speeds. Everything would be in a certain place where I knew where it was and what it was. When I got over to the sanding table, like I knew what the sandpapers were, but I also wasn't certain which pile was which sometimes. And so I had to sort of like guess and check, and like that's lost time, Right. Yeah. So having things not be like in the place that I prefer them to be, like they are at home, really like changes the whole process. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, good thoughts. And it's, I my hat's off. Well, I don't have a hat, but my appreciation for all three of you guys, and like your ability to work with what we gave you to create what these judges have been looking at. It's really, really impressive. So thank you all. Thank you all. So the pipe makers are now going to take their pipes and they're going to wax them, and then we'll set them up front. We'll present the awards, and then we'll all be able to see them.
What's their reward? They can go home?
Their reward is that they are allowed to go sell their real pipes tomorrow.
That's right.
By the way, we're down to the counting now. The judges have completed their scorecards, and Jeff's going to read out the winners.
You can approach everybody wins in this case. Okay? I say I like your approach. Everybody wins in this case.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Well, I'll let you do it. You're the-
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if we can get the pipe makers over here for just one moment. The final results are in, and boy, was it close. All right, we've got Tim Garrity here to present the plaques. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the second annual Battle of the Briar, sponsored by Sutliff Tobacco, is the same kind of person we had as the winner last year, a foreigner. Ladies and gentlemen, Dirk Heidemann.
Well, he's from Texas, so yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, finishing in second place, a very close second, I might add, David S. Huber. And finishing by 1 point in third place, Pete Prevost. Congratulations, folks.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, we are just delighted that you took part in this competition for us. Y'all won. You all won. You all got plaques. And yeah, thank you all for doing this.
Wanted to make sure that we had an official congratulations from our president of the Chicagoland Pipe Club, Tim Garrity.
We also have, before we do, we've got the judges' decisions. What was the people's choice? We'll have to find out. So, you've got the judges. I'm utterly grateful for everybody who came out today. This is pipe culture at its best. And nail bite. Come on. Dude, Dave just nailed it. Man, I am just so proud of our community. I am grateful. I'm just looking forward to just growing our culture, people. This is awesome. Thank you all, gentlemen. Thank you.
Go back to where they were. And in the meantime, what we're going to do is let you all come up. Once they start the buffing process, you can actually see the pipes up close. So once each one of them finishes buffing, they're going to set their pipes down, and you guys are free to come up and take a look at them. And because the wax will be just fresh, please don't touch the pipes so that it'll set. What I've been told by a professional pipe maker. While this is going on, it's time now to talk to the judges who came up to that final decision. And let's start with Marty Pulvers. Marty, again, thank you for the second year in a row, lending your good name to the contest as a participant in the product of judge. So thank you very much. How'd you do tonight?
Well, I'm happy to say for myself, and I can't speak for the other judges, although we should have conferred a little more. Each of the contestants came in first in at least one of the categories. So, yeah, right? So that's nice. It kind of goes with what Rick was saying. They all were first in at least something. And I felt good about being able to do that. I didn't do it for that end, but that's how it worked out.
That's a good point to make. For everybody a winner. Well, Dr. Berger, your second year, what did you think?
I was very impressed with the quality of all three pipes, and it took a lot of thinking and looking in the judgment, and it was very close, but it was very enjoyable, and I'm so happy to be part of it.
Great. And of course, Tom, we have you back again. You're a pipe maker, and you, I know, probably judged it from a lot of standards we can't, as the lay persons can't see. But what were your final thoughts?
I'm just very impressed with the what these guys created today, and what I'm impressed with the most is the diversity in the shapes that we had this year over last year. Last year, everybody kind of stayed with the classic Levat or poker or not poker shape, but yeah. But it was so nice to see different shapes and the work that they put into them. Amazing job, amazing job.
It's to me, for the second year in a row, especially after what happened with David, but all three of them finishing right at about the same time.
Yep, exactly. And again, it's one of those things where who races to make a pipe? Nobody,
Steve, do you remember more or less what the range was between first, second, and third?
Yeah, there was only 1 point between second and third. So.
Thank you very much for coming. Especially the square.
Thank you. Yeah, please. For you. Chicago through and through. Yeah.
Great display. Just take those logs and come out with what they did. I didn't know. When I first got to go out, I said, how are they going to do anything with those things, right? Did you have that impression?
Oh, hey, and in case everybody's not aware, we are having a cocktail party upstairs at the 10th floor. Once this is over. Well, he started. It's on the 10th floor. It's the only place you can go. Please come and join us.
Thank you, Brad.
I always love it. You're just great at this. Thank you. You know what? Thank you for your. It's just a shame. You can't make much of a living out of this.
No,
there's not much of a market out of it.
No.
Yes. Yeah. It's not bad. It's funny. 312 because that's the area code. This is a sweet boy.
An hour, but not your own.
And like I said, I wanted to have the right diameter. Yeah. So I feel like a mixture of.
Let's see the running pipe here.
So are these for sale?
Beautiful.
They will be for sale, I guess, tomorrow.
Auction.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Wait. A 3-minute miracle.
Oh, thanks. I'm fine. Thank you. The miracle.
Yeah. Okay.
Pipe carvers.
Carvers?
The president would like a picture with y'all.
And a beer.
Yeah.
I'll go dirt. Y'all stand right there by the equipment. It'll be a better picture. As close back to it as you can, because this light is really good coming here.
You're chasing me around, Neil. You're making all my audience sick.
Tommy, get in.
There we go. Smile and say, tight bitches.
Tight bitches.
Yes. Got it.
Now we got one with Tommy. Tommy, you gotta get the.
Jared,
Jared,
please.
We need
Jared, where do you want? Here.
You guys are good right there. We got it. All right. Love it.
Okay. It's a wrap. Hassan?
Can I see your?